Under the sunlight, there was a pair of ringed birds cuddling each other on a tree branch. And then they take us to a gentle green land that covers the entire space. There is a cave in the middle of the wild forest land. Deep inside the cave was a teenager controlling his breathing. It seemed like he was cultivating some kind of new technique with a lot of aura surrounding him. Then suddenly the system appears and announces that while watching the sunrise, your heart has absorbed the dead energy of the sun, your heart has practiced the introductory exercises to perfection, and your realm has broken through to the first level of chi refinement. He seemed very excited after hearing the notification from the system, because he could finally enter the weapon training phase. He told himself that tomorrow was the final disciple acceptance test day of the Tanban sect. If he couldn't practice the introductory exercises to perfection, he would be eliminated. The system issued a warning to him: your heart had absorbed the deadly energy, and with the speed of cultivation skyrocketing, when it came to this, the system disappeared and could no longer hear the warning. He came out of the cave with pride. His name is Deep Tan. 3 days ago Deep Tan brought the air travel system here. The system can make the organ under special conditions automatically carry out cultivation. All parts become possible. Then an image appeared with 13 symbols illustrating the organs. Deep Tan introduces a few names, including 5 senses, 5 internal organs, for limbs and white comedy. The image of an old demon snake appeared in Deep Tan's head with an appearance that looked like he wanted to devour him. Deep Tan thought that this place was not convenient to stay for long because it was rumored that the old demon snake here was a ferocious person, often causing trouble, so quickly leave here first. Deep Tan was about to leave immediately because he didn't want to get into trouble when something passed by his body with amazing speed. Deep Tan was surprised by its speed because as soon as he mentioned Chow Chow, Chow Chow immediately arrived. Deep Tan couldn't react in time, so he was grabbed by the snake's tail, causing him to be unable to move in time. The old snake demon who caught Deep Tan seemed very happy, like a snake hunting a delicious prey. She said to Deep Tan in a good mood, "Your meat tastes fresh and delicious. It's still a small piece of fresh meat, small meat. Fresh and fragrant." Only then did Deep Tan react to his shocked state of mind. He stuttered. As expected, the words he just mentioned were nonsense, which is hard to deny. She seemed very excited because she was about to eat Deep Tan, and said to him like a pervert, "Hee hee, she will eat you carefully." Deep Tan thought, "This time my life is over." Suddenly a sound caught his attention. It turned out that it was the sound of the system with the illustration of 2 kidneys informing Deep Tan, "Your kidneys had not seen a woman for a long time," creating a passionate interest in the snake crystal in front of you, along with the illustration of the mouth telling Deep Tan that your mouth feels that your kidneys are right. It also wants to taste the taste of a woman. Deep Tan feels shocked and extremely confused when hearing notices from your kidneys and mouth say you care. In conclusion, your body shows resolute coordination. Deep Tan silently scolded himself for his salty taste. Fuck. While Deep Tan was still thinking, with his big mouth the old snake demon rushed towards him. "We haven't eaten fresh meat like this in a long time." Suddenly she stopped as if shocked when she saw something. It turns out that Deep Tan was ready to kiss her and shocked her. She must have thought this guy was crazy. The image of 2 kidneys informed him, "Your kidneys felt very stimulated." Your mouth decided to start acting. Deep Tan could only be helpless with his body, so he could only silently scold, "Come on." The old snake demon sprayed hard glue when he saw Deep Tan acting like that, and the image of his mouth kept repeating, "Your kidneys were very excited, your mouth felt the taste as well." Deep Tan is resigned and his tongue is acting on its own. This is truly a battle between his body and his mind. His tongue is constantly wanting to use his tongue to go deeper and explore to the end. Deep Tan's light tried her best to stop her tongue but could only silently scold her cruel tongue. "Fuck, no, 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 don't." Suddenly, the snake demon disappeared, leaving behind a cloud of smoke and released Deep Tan. Deep Tan fell to the ground with a face of sudden bewilderment. Weo is no longer an old snake demon like the transformation technique in the Naruto movie. This time a young girl with 3 fiery rings appeared. The girl looked at him shyly and timidly. A pink-haired girl with a blushing face filled with anger. Deep Tan was still sitting on the ground and could only look at her in amazement. Deep Tan complimented her. She looked so beautiful. Without a word to say, she just turned her back on Deep Tan, snorted, and at this moment Deep Tan was no longer sitting on the ground and stood up, wanting to approach her. Seemingly feeling Deep Tan's interest, she asked, "Hey, what's your name?" Different from the previous mood of preparing to kiss the ugly snake lady. As if she had just won a lottery ticket with a special prize from Violot, Deep Tan immediately excitedly introduced herself. I am Deep Tan. Like in other harem series, the girl like a tsundere girl told him, "Okay, I remember you." The girl suddenly flew up high and Deep Tan was looking after her, and she told Deep Tan, "I will come back to find you." Then she disappeared into thin air. Deep Tan stood on the ground just nodding with an sound. Because right now he was very confused and could only wonder to himself, what is this? Not thinking anymore, Deep Tan could only put his hands behind his head as he walked and muttered, "Because today is the last day of the examination to accept Tan Van Sek's disciples, so it's best to go home." Right now he is walking on the stairs leading to the male lead's aura and he is thinking about the identity of the body he has entered. According to the original owner's memory, does he have a fiancé? Ever met? It's truly a worrying thing about the surrounding relationships. Since I was a child, I was accepted as a disciple by a fake monk who went on an excursion. I haven't returned home for more than 10 years. This time, if I can't return, become a monk, I'm afraid there will be big trouble. The difference between immortals and mortals. This marriage will definitely no longer exist. It's really a headache and trouble when, although the Deep family where the original owner used to live is not a wealthy family, it is also a wealthy family. Of course, this cannot be accepted, so that's why he doesn't regret it. At any price, bring him to Tan Van Man. The image of this original's father appeared in his mind. He seemed to have high expectations for Deep Tan and kept repeating them. He must not disappoint the family's expectations. About this, Deep Tan thought, the original body's cultivation talent cannot be said to be bad. However, it can only be said that it is nothing. Wanting to pass the exam, it is indeed more difficult than going to heaven. I can only sigh. But he is the male lead, so nothing can stop the male lead's aura except the author, so he also has a bit of pride. After all, now that I have come here, it will all happen. Change. As soon as he finished thinking about it, he was no longer troubled and happily ran to the front gate. However, the urgent task now was to find Senior Sister to confirm that he had passed the test, and then officially become Tan's disciple. Van Man. Currently in Tan Van Outer's sect teaching hall, a beautiful young woman with long brown hair and a brown-white dress with traditional beauty appeared. This is probably to Tan Noyet, the person Deep Tan is looking for to be able to pass the examination. At this time, Deep Tan found Tan Noyet. He was hiding behind the wall looking at Tan Noyet when suddenly his eyes announced, "Your eyes decided to enjoy this beauty in front of you." While he was still staring at the beautiful woman in front of him, the two fellows behind him were discussing Tan Noyet's beauty. It seemed like these two fellows didn't like Deep Tan much, nor did they. That's right, no matter where the male lead goes, he will be chased away by the masses or else he will be jealous. Those two fellows also seem to like Tan Noyet very much. This kid has just entered the sect, and he dares to stare at her. Staring at Senior Sister Su, the other Taoist friend had no opinion. It was normal. Senior Sister Su's appearance was like that of a fairy. Whoever saw it for the first time had to look longer. Only then did Tan Noyet notice the crowd of people whispering about her. Back to Deep Tan, his eyes and legs are now working together to prepare his mind. His eyes say, "Your eyes feel too far away, can't see clearly," intending to come closer. Moreover, his legs also support his eyes. His legs feel very reasonable. After saying that, he immediately rushed straight to Tan Noyet's place like a flash superhero. Two faces with four eyes were looking at each other in surprise. As for the surrounding crowd, they were shocked by Deep Tan's bravery. The two fellows from earlier exclaimed, "Let's stop peeping. If you're still blatantly looking like that, aren't you afraid of being beaten?" This new junior brother is quite brave. Deep Tan could only silently scold his damn legs for daring to support his eyes. He was truly not afraid of external enemies, only afraid of internal enemies attacking him. He could only blame himself. Damn legs, they harmed themselves. Heaven forbid. Dear, I myself am not a lustful person. I can't help but Deep Tan's reason is confused by his eyes and his feet, so now he can only face Tan Noyet. Whichever direction the wind blows, we follow it wherever we go, so there's nothing to worry about. Is just a good man. At this time, Tan Noyet was very angry and the murderous aura wrapped around her body as if she wanted to castrate Deep Tan. Deep Tan used the phrase that when you're having trouble, you should smile confidently, then his eyes announced, Your eyes felt your hair flying back and forth obscuring your vision, and decided to pull it out. Another leopard appears in the house, his hand proposes, your left hand agrees, act first, your dantian provides spiritual support. It was really unlucky that this time he was injured in the eyes, legs, and a new hand act combined to help him reason. Deep Tan could only silently scold him, fuck, don't cause trouble. Deep Tan's hand was surrounded by a layer of spiritual energy, and immediately rushed towards Tatan Noyet, although he tried to stop it but it was insignificant and Tatan Noyet just stood still and looked at Deep Tan. It is not easy for a person to deal with a stream of spirit when surrounding Tatan Noyet is also very dense. However, Deep Tan's hand was not easily overwhelmed by Tatan Noyet's spiritual energy. His hand penetrated the spiritual energy layer. After all, the hand was the male protagonist, and the rule of male protagonist's body was immeasurable. Destroying cities is normal. When Deep Tan's hand passed through Tatan Noyet's spiritual energy, she thought she was in trouble, but she did not expect that Deep Tan's hand grazed her face and then slid behind her to gently stroke Tatan's hair. Noyet, she couldn't believe that this would happen, so she didn't know how to react. As for the surrounding crowd, now another person has appeared. They can only look at Deep Tan with jealousy. Damn, this bastard wants to die, right? He dares to play with senior sister Sue in front of everyone. I wouldn't dare in my wildest dreams. Don't stop me. I want to beat him to death right now. At this time, Deep Tan's will has controlled his body again. Sister, you listen to my explanation. Tatan Noyet didn't bother to listen to Deep Tan's explanation. Maybe now she just wants to beat this greedy guy into a pig's head. Even though he didn't do it on purpose, he can't help but pay for any stupid actions. If only. Tatan Noyet immediately gathered spiritual energy in his finger and sent him flying. Only a sound could be heard, a howl coming from the unfortunate boy. All he could do was fall to the ground and look up at Tatan Noyet. In his mind, he thought, it was the golden magic power. Tatan Noyet immediately adjusted her solemn posture with a calm face without any change in color, seeing that you had refined your spiritual energy. Her face immediately darkened. She must have passed the entrance exam. Respecting the feelings of her fellow students, this time she will not care about you. If there is a next time, she will not be forgiven easily. Deep Tan quickly stood up immediately. Thank you, Sister Tu, he thought. Fortunately this Sister Su looks cold but is kind. Only repelled me, but did not cause any harm. Deep Tan was still thinking, otherwise, a monk of the Golden Dan period. When he was angry, he would not die but would be seriously injured. When Tatan Noyet suddenly interrupted his train of thought, she said there was more. Just throw him a card. This is proof that you are an outer sect disciple. Take it. You only need a drop of blood to recognize your master. Deep Tan immediately clasped his hands together and bowed his head, thanking his sister. Following Tatan Noyet's instructions, Deep Tan immediately dripped a drop of blood onto the card and exclaimed, oh, that's truly the magic of a fairy. After being dripped with Deep Tan's blood, a layer of light blue spiritual energy appeared on the card, just like Deep Tan's spiritual energy radiated. Seeing this, Deep Tan immediately excitedly put it on his left hip with a happy face. He thought, just wear it on your waist, next to the engagement jade pendant. At this moment, he was startled. Why was my senior sister staring at me? Could it be that she felt that it was inappropriate for me to put the jade plaque and engagement pendant together? Tatan Noyet's facial expression doesn't look very good. Her face is gloomy. One hand is raised to her chin, thinking about something. At this time, Deep Tan was a little worried when senior sister Tu stared at him. After all, it was proof of his identity as an outer sect disciple, hanging on his waist like that, which seemed a bit inappropriate. Adjusting my face, I could only smile in the mirror to defend myself. Ha, this is a precious thing. I have to keep it hidden inside my body. After listening to the explanation, Tatan Noyet could only give him one piece of advice. Deep Tan, your talent should focus on one thing, choose one practice, and that's fine. Tatan Noyet is truly a person who is hot on the inside and cold on the outside. She is ready to introduce to Deep Tan. In here, in the most remote place, on the bookshelf is a copy of the Tan Wood Longevity Secret. You can take a look and see. Deep Tan was excited and happy and immediately clasped his hands to thank his sister, and was thanked for her advice. Deep Tan immediately turned to the direction Tatan Noyet pointed and thought to herself, this sister too is really a good person. Meanwhile, Tatan Noyet still raised her eyes to follow Deep Tan. Before I was so bad, but now her sister Sue still had the good intentions to remind me. Tutan Noyet is still watching Deep Tan as if thinking about something. Deep Tan opened the door where Tutan Noyet pointed him to find a copy of the elixir of longevity. He was immediately overwhelmed when he saw that inside the room there were many books spread all the way to the end of the hallway. Then suddenly a man appeared, surprising Deep Tan. "Hello, junior brother, I am True Tu Long." True Tu Long seriously folded his arms behind his back with an indifferent face, looked at Deep Tan and introduced him to this place, and that he was an inner disciple, in charge of managing the transmission of the Dharma, transmitting the Dharma. In total, it is divided into 3 levels. As an outer sect disciple, you can only choose the exercises in the first level. It seems that True Tu Long is a friendly person. He is still warmly introducing to Deep Tan. About the selection time is half an hour. After choosing, come to my place to register. I will arrange a place for you to attend. Enlighten the practice, understand the practice for only 1 day, no matter how many practices you choose, no matter how difficult the practice is, so know how to do it yourself. After True Tu Long finished explaining to Deep Tan about understanding the practice, and the time spent studying, Deep Tan clasped his hands and bowed his head, thanking his brother. Deep Tan immediately went to find a set of exercises for himself, thinking, this first floor alone has dozens of bookshelves. The exercises placed there are up to thousands of exercises. There is also a silver lining in misfortune, although half an hour is not necessarily enough. If the inner sect disciples do not have special contributions, there is only one chance to choose the technique, a rare opportunity, definitely must hold firmly. It seems that Deep Tan, using his main character's aura, found the bookshelf containing the book that Sister Sue mentioned. Sure enough, in the most outer corner there was a bookshelf. Deep Tan immediately held the dusty old book in his hand. This is the secret of longevity that senior sister Tutan Noyet said, but it was covered in dust. No one cared to such an extent. Deep Tan turned his head to look at the surrounding bookshelves. No wonder, this place was all the most basic introductory practice techniques. He could only scratch his head and nod sympathetically. Even though he said everything was gentle and not easy to get carried away with, cultivating was not difficult, but the progress was slow, and the speed of growth was like a snail. Intentions are not choices. Then I immediately regained my excitement, but this book of exercises was indeed very suitable for me. It was the purest Qigong practice, with extremely strong compatibility. Like this, the above parts every body can be cultivated. A few moments later, Deep Tan found 2 new books, both volumes of this method of cultivating the body and cultivating the soul. The first one is cultivating the heart. The next one is cultivating the spirit sea. Deep Tan sat down on the floor, holding his chin in one hand and holding 2 books in the other, thinking that both were high-level martial arts, both extremely difficult. After successfully practicing this extremely difficult technique, he could increase his talent to the highest level. I don't want to have a headache with these 2 books anymore. Deep Tan Lin raised his hand high to take another book from the shelf. Or should I change it to 2 simple books to practice first? Then suddenly Deep Tan's heart warned him, causing him to cough in pain. His heart felt despised and extremely angry. Deep Tan was now pale-faced, clutching his heart in pain and standing still while even his spirit sea gave a warning. Your spirit sea agreed with your heart. At this time, Deep Tan's face became darker and his body trembled violently, silently cursing, "Fuck, my heart rate is faster, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. My mind is confused and I can only continue to scold him. Don't cause trouble anymore. I can choose." A few moments later, True Tu Long was reading a book when Deep Tan came to inform him that my senior brother had made his choice. True Tu Long was still holding the book in his hand, clasped his hands behind his back, then looked at Deep Tan and praised, "You also know how to choose. The body refining and soul refining methods are both at the top of thousands of exercises." True Tu Long opened his eyes wide in surprise and exclaimed. In addition to the Tanwood longevity technique, although the difficulty difference is extremely large, you have gathered enough to refine your body, refine your soul, refine your weapons. At this time, Deep Tan was completely serious, listening to True Tu Long giving advice like an elder giving advice to a junior. As a person, you must know yourself clearly. These 2 exercise books are extremely difficult to understand. True Tu Long immediately turned around, took the book and left. But still, for the good of Deep Tan, he still said, "Even if I was a monk back then, I wouldn't have had this courage, with your talent, at most in 1 day." Only one who can deeply understand and summon the secret of the sage wood of longevity. With Deep Tan's eternal golden male lead aura, he has nothing to fear from True Tu Long's warnings. He just laughed loudly. Thank you, brother, for reminding me, but I want to try it. True Tu Long immediately turned his head around. His face darkened and he glared at Deep Tan, joking, if you really have any natural talent for enlightenment, how could you barely successfully practice the introductory method on the last day? Through external examination. At this moment, True Tu Long seemed very angry with Deep Tan's arrogance, with one hand clasped behind his back and the other pointing straight at him. If I say no, I see you are the one who doesn't know the heavens and the earth. Image. Deep Tan could only smile wryly as his whole body was now reacting negatively. Your Dan dying, heart, spirit see, feeling humiliated, decided to fight back, your mouth and eyes. Coordinate this action. True Tu Long turned back with his stern and indifferent appearance, and said, when I True Tu Long entered the sect, I did not have as big an ambition as you. Like a street thug, Deep Tan's body trembled as he said, yo yo yo, and True Tu Long was surprised by his insolent attitude. With a disdainful attitude on his face, Deep Tan gritted his teeth and lifted his chin, his eyes raised sharply, one eyebrow raised, he crossed his arms and looked at True Tu Long. You can't do it, don't show that I can't either. Deep Tan's Lai Tri can only hold his head and scream and cry helplessly in front of his own body. It's causing me trouble again. It's like I already see clearly, no part of my body can make me less worried. Everyone is a troublemaker. The insolent attitude of Deep Tan's body made True Tu Long stunned, not knowing what to say. I thought that with my lying attitude, my senior brother would beat me to a pulp, but unexpectedly, this senior brother was a calm person who only used sarcastic words instead of actions. Good words were difficult to advise the demon who wanted to die. Don't blame senior brother for not reminding you in the future. Lai Tri had regained control of his body and smiled wryly, scratching his head and quickly wanting to leave. Senior brother, so I'll go into the room to understand first, then think it's best to escape. After a while, Tatan Noyet walked in and the surrounding disciples started to stir. Ah, it's senior sister too. A disciple wondered, it's usually very difficult to meet senior sister Su. Why did she come here? She still has a calm, elegant appearance and a slim figure. Everyone who sees her loves senior sister Su. Asked True Tu Long. Just now what technique did Deep Tan choose? True Tu Long was surprised, as if in shock, sweating and opened his eyes wide to look at Tatan Noyet, thinking, could it be that this trash boy doesn't know that the sky is high and the earth is thick just now and has something to do with senior sister Su? Unable to speak because True Tu Long was still in shock when Sister Su had been in the sect for more than 10 years, but had never heard of anything outside of cultivation. Seeing that he didn't answer her question, her face turned slightly pink, and she asked, what's wrong? I'm asking you. Only then did True Tu Long react. He clasped his hands and bowed his head in response, returning to his sister, the secret of longevity, etc. It looked like a shy young girl with one hand raised to her mouth. What else? True Tu Long also replied, there is also the practice of physical training and soul training. Tatan Noyet crossed her arms and nodded yes. At this moment, True Tu Long was extremely questioning in his mind, thinking about Deep Tan's contemptuous appearance. Heaven and earth, this kid really has a relationship with his senior sister. Tatan Noyet immediately turned around and left, telling him to come find me after he went out. True Tu Long could only stand bewildered and then nod. He rubbed his forehead and thought, he really had seen a ghost. What did it have to do with senior sister Su? He rubbed his chin and his face stiffened again, choosing 3 exercises at the same time, 2 of which were extremely difficult. Then he looked towards the door where Deep Tan was practicing and just cursed inwardly. He really didn't know how high the sky and earth were. Did he think he was a natural-born Taoist? Suddenly a green smoke radiated from the room where Deep Tan was practicing. The airflow was so strong that it blew True Tu Long's hair and clothes. The surrounding disciples were surprised and a little worried, not knowing who could do this. The silver-haired disciple wondered, this is someone who has achieved great success. The sand-blonde-haired disciple, great success, miracle breakthrough. True Tu Long probably already knows the reason why this smoke appeared. Now only that kid Deep Tan is in there, he has broken through. My eyes were wide open and my face was sweating. I wonder how long it took you to get in. True Tu Long must be very confused right now. It's normal for the male lead to be buffed. No matter how unreasonable it is, it will become reasonable. True Tu Long thought, it's probably only been half an hour, and he's understood everything. Then is it you? Deep Tan breathed a sigh of relief. He is extremely proud of his body except when it becomes a hand press. His body is very impressive. He has only read the exercises once and already understands it completely. Very impressive. The system immediately appeared to answer the reason for your body's breakthrough. Because your dantian had previously absorbed the solar energy, it stimulated the wood energy, causing your practice speed to increase sharply. Deep Tan stood up and checked the chart on the system. It turned out that it was like that. True Duong Zi Qi is the divine yang vitality of heaven and earth. Of course, the wood-attributed practice is 2 for 1. At this moment, his body announced that your dantian hopes to be able to eat bamboo shoots, absorb wood energy, and eat them raw. Your arms, legs, and mouth approved this action, so his whole body agreed, deciding that after nightfall, he would steal purple bamboo shoots behind the mountain of Tu Hafong. Deep Tan was confused, his face turned black and he was sweating, thinking, I am not a panda, can that thing be eaten raw? Just a moment ago, I was just confused, but this time it turned into discomfort when my heart informed me. My heart suggested that after eating bamboo shoots, I could go to the hot springs of Tu Hafong. The hot springs have the effect of helping the blood flow. Pine. This time, I had a headache and dizziness when my feet added the sentence. Your 2 feet strongly agreed with this proposal and everyone agreed. Before he could say a word, he held his head and screamed, This is trying to kill me, damn it's Tu Hafong. All the disciples of Tan Van sect practice in Tu Hafong, the hot spring behind the mountain. Is a forbidden area for that male disciple. After Deep Tan had to accept the mission to go to the forbidden area of Tu Hafong to practice, although he did not accept it, it was not his decision to do so. The inability to understand what is going on, get out first. True Tu Long walked by and saw a silhouette that looked very similar to Deep Tan, so he turned around and spoke. Senior Brother Deep, your words just now were a bit presumptuous, so don't take them to heart. Hearing that, he also laughed and said, Master Hui Brother is too polite, so I don't let the pain in my heart. Even though my mouth said that, in my heart I was skeptical as to why he suddenly treated me so politely. Actually, that guy is not good at all because he thought that Tan Noyet was someone close to him. He pointed his finger at someone and said that later when you meet Senior Sister Su, cough and cough, speak on behalf of Senior Brother. Can you please rest assured that Senior Brother will never mistreat you? He heard him mention Tan Noyet, and looked blankly wondering what the matter had to do with Senior Sister Tu. He saw that he was bewildered and didn't understand, so he also added that you should look at your memory. Sister said that after you have finished understanding, come find her. Then he also leaned closer and whispered to Junior Brother Deep Tan, you and Senior Sister Tu. What is the relationship between you and Senior Sister Tu? He squinted his eyes and glanced at him, and said there was no relationship at all. Sister Su and I had only met once. He expressed his disbelief and replied, how could this be possible? Just now Senior Sister Tu came here on purpose and asked with concern what technique you chose. If you don't care deeply about a person then it can't be like that. As soon as he finished speaking, a thought suddenly flashed in his mind. He pointed at him and said yes, I guess that you must have been noticed by your sister, and she must have liked you. He just looked at him and smirked and said ha ha, you are truly a genius in reasoning. But before he could say more, the system rang again. Your heart felt this was extremely stimulating, causing the speed of practice to increase sharply. He clutched his chest, sweating profusely, showing pain and cursing at the aroused monkey sister. How could she like me? Zhao Tu Long, standing behind, saw Deep Tan's strange behavior and wondered what was going on. What is this little guy doing? Even though True Tu Long welcomes the old and the new, he thinks differently. It's clearly Sister Su coming to settle the matter. No, I can't show my head to meet her. It's best to go out the back door. Without hesitation, he quickly ran out the back door, causing True Tu Long to wonder, wasn't Senior Sister Su in front? Why did this kid go out back? He couldn't think like that. He couldn't let Senior Sister Su know that he had let Junior Brother Deep go. The image of Tan Noyet with eyes full of anger appeared in his mind, making him break into a cold sweat. If Senior Sister Tu was angry, I would definitely die. At this time, he was also leisurely walking out of the Dharma transmission hall through the back door. Outside, the disciples were extremely noisy. A veteran disciple shouted loudly, "Come over and take a look. There is a contest here where the Tan Tu sect voluntarily participates. If the winner wins, they will become king." Deep Tan saw everyone gathered together and found it strange, so he went to ask this senior brother, "What is going on here? Why is there so many people in a sect competition? What reward will there be?" Vang Ai Ho immediately smiled and replied, "He, looking at your brother's appearance, you just realized the practice in the Dharma Transmission Hall, right? Therefore, you probably don't know about the recent big events on our side." Don't wait for Deep when Tan answered. He asked if his brothers knew about Ma Tianman. With a serious face, he replied that Ma Tianman had heard that it seemed to be near our Tan Van Man. He turned to look at the group of people next to him and then said, "Could it be that a great war of justice and ghosts was about to happen?" When he saw you wondering, he also spoke up and answered, "Brother, you probably don't know. Recently, our Tan Van sect and Tian Ma sect were fighting over a newly discovered spiritual stone mineral vein. There were many conflicts between the two sides, so the two sects decided to organize a competition for the Tan Tu sect. The time is about 3 months later. If you can defeat the opponent on the battlefield, you will receive a reward from the upper-level elders, which is magical spiritual weapons of your choice." He pointed to his extremely excited face and added that the leader can also receive a reward from Senior Sister Su so that Senior Sister Su can help master the exercises. Otherwise, why would these old men personally do it? Can you go to battle? After hearing this, he immediately clapped his hands and said that it was because of Senior Sister Tu. He looked back and forth at Deep Tan and then asked me to see this junior brother's uncompromising aura. Would he like to participate? With a thoughtful face, he pondered those organs and decided to go to Tu Ha Fong to steal things tonight, afraid that by then it would definitely cause trouble. So let's deal with Tu Ha Fong first, and then say. Thinking that in his mind, he turned around and told him about this later, then said, "Now I have to go back and prepare, so I have to practice harder." When the system saw that he was obedient, he immediately gave out a reward, and your heart saw that what you said was very reasonable, so it decided to give you a little more blood to prepare for tonight. From Ha Fong, he thought of the scene. Tonight was okay. Eating purple bamboo, your mouth keeps drooling and your feet want you to take a bath quickly. Of course it would be better if you could meet little sister. Deep Tan was just helpless and speechless, so he quietly left, making that senior brother regretfully think that he was missing a chicken, so he left it alone. Don't worry about him. Having so many disciples participating is enough. This trip is a big deal, hee. After a while, Deep Tan also reached the foot of Tu Ha Fong Mountain. He was jumping and jumping as he walked. I really didn't want to go to Tu Ha Fong. Up there, people would easily beat me. The system heard your footsteps again, feeling that what you said was very unreasonable, so it resolutely continued. He suddenly darkened his face and said that it was really troublesome and that he could only explore first. His brother thought that after all, Tu Ha Fong's defense was very strict, so it would be better to be careful, so he picked up a dry branch, then forcefully threw it forward. Immediately an invisible barrier appeared before his eyes. He watched as the tree branch was broken into many pieces by the magic power of the barrier. Then he let out a startled cry and broke out in a cold sweat of fear. He knelt down with both hands clasped tightly under his chin. How could such a powerful formation pass? He crossed his arms and thought to himself that this won't work. This is just looking for a way to die, and it's best to return quickly. Just as you were about to retreat, the life alarm system spoke again, telling you that your heart felt that you were too cowardly. As his master, how could you step back? Your heart decided to support you. Deep Tan's whole body at this time emitted an extremely powerful and bright stream of vital energy. The system also added that your legs have increased a portion of natural spiritual energy to help you not be recognized by the surrounding Dharma ray, and your body has an additional flow of spiritual energy. He raised his hand to check and saw blue spiritual energy covering his entire hand. He glanced at the screen and wondered if this was really useful. He didn't wait any longer, and immediately raised his hand full of spiritual energy towards the barrier. His hand gently touched it and passed through the transparent curtain, making him extremely happy. He didn't expect it to actually work. We actually went through. The scene changes a moment later. Deep Tan is like a thief sneaking deep into Ha Fong's heart. He moved slowly while walking and told me to be a little careful, just be a little careful. When the life system saw him stalking like that, it couldn't stand it, so it immediately announced that your liver felt you were too cowardly. Your heart consulted with other senses and made a decision for you to call out. Tensed up, before he understood what was going on, the hand dropped the tree and stood up proudly. The life system said that your limbs are determined to treat this place as your home, so feel free to move around and do whatever your mouth sees, and very much agrees. Deep Tan's legs immediately moved forward, causing him to panic and cry out. What are you going to do? Damn it, you guys want to kill me, don't you just steal other people's things and still complain like that? He walked for a while and finally reached the purple bamboo garden. He took a deep breath and said he was finally here, but he was so tired of being here. He stood looking at the bamboo trees in front of him and couldn't help but exclaim that it was truly a forest of purple bamboos with endless aura flowing like endless waves. He closed his eyes to feel the cool breeze carrying spiritual energy blowing through his body. He seemed extremely excited and thought it was comfortable. This place is much better than the place where he practiced. No wonder many female disciples like the forest. Purple bamboo like that. After feeling the abundant spiritual energy radiating from the purple bamboo forest, Deep Tan, his face full of excitement, held his sword and slashed towards the purple bamboo forest and shouted, "Give it here!" Unfortunately, as soon as the sword touched the bamboo tree, it broke in half, leaving him extremely shocked. What is this thing that's so hard? He looked at the sword in his hand and his face turned pale as he cursed in his heart, but he asked me to bite this thing with my teeth. Even if it was a practical animal, I wouldn't necessarily be able to eat it. Seeing you keep struggling and having no way to solve this problem, the life alarm system scolds your brain, feeling that you are a bit stupid and wants to personally guide you to steal purple plums. Your heart also agrees to help your brain find purple bamboo shoots around your hand. I also want to help with a little strength. I just hope that when I examine your brain, don't forget it. Hearing that, he was suddenly startled like someone coming down from a mountain. Oh my God, what the hell is going on? It wasn't just that he came here to eat purple bamboo, but to eat purple bamboo shoots. His hand suddenly emitted a powerful aura. Around. His hand grabbed the trunk of a nearby bamboo tree. Then he used his strength to pull it towards him strongly. The purple bamboo was now in his hand. He thought to himself that this system dares to complain like that. Why do these mature purple bamboos take several hundred years to mature, yet they can be pulled up so easily? At this time, the system beeped loudly again. Your heart discovered the purple bamboo shoots you were looking for, so you prepared to take the purple bamboo shoots. Your brain very much approved of the heart's action and scolded your hands and feet for not being clean. Deep Tan looked at I went down to the bamboo tree that I had just pulled up earlier and discovered fresh green bamboo shoots underneath. The system informed me that your limbs decided to dig up some purple bamboo shoots to soak your feet. Hearing this, I started sweating. Why do you think you're using purple bamboo shoots to soak your feet? Are you kidding me? This is a sacred medicine. That product is not 3 bamboo shoots or something sold in the market. A while later, a series of bamboo shoots were also dug up by the cherry blossoms. He leaned on his hands and looked at the green bamboo shoots in front of him, but also breathed a sigh of relief and said that he had finally dug quite a bit. He was so tired that he could die. Did Deep Tan suddenly have a guilty conscience? He kept looking back and saying that he had been digging bamboo shoots and creating so many holes. If someone else found out, he would be dead. Listen to what he said. The governor was also frustrated and spoke up. Your heart suddenly saw that you were cowardly again, so he gave you some courage. Immediately the system beeps the air conditioner plus 1086. He clenched his fist. The fear on his face had completely disappeared. He used his hand to wipe the drool and said that now the most important thing to him is increasing his cultivation level. He immediately sat down to eat and enjoy the sweet, fresh green bamboo shoots. While eating, he told him to leave it alone and go eat first before thinking about it. After finishing the bowl, his whole body was suddenly surrounded by a strong, dense stream of true essence. Because of that, his cultivation also increased dramatically to the 3rd level of chi refining and the 4th level of chi refining. He breathed a sigh of relief, his face excited, saying that it was really refreshing and his cultivation had increased so quickly. Speaking of Sister Tan Noyet, after coming out of the Dharma transmission hall, she was waiting for Deep Tan but there was no sign of her. The girl felt frustrated and silently blamed me for waiting all day, but this damn kid Deep Tan didn't come. Tan Noyet closed her eyes and meditated, thinking that in recent years, I have only had the Dharma in my heart, praying for immortality. Ironically, life is not as I thought, but I didn't expect Deep Tan to suddenly appear here. If you don't have a predestined relationship, maybe I will marry Deep Tan and become a beautiful story of the world. She remembered the jade pendant on his waist and said, but now, Maybe I can give Deep Tan a little pointer, and it will be the end of this cause and effect. When this love story comes, I can pray for clarity. My master will not blame me too much, she added with a sad face, but this guy really makes people angry. He has no intention of meeting me at all. After saying that, she was also angry and left, so let's go to the back of the mountain to soak in the warm spring and adjust my emotions. Turning back to Deep Tan, who was lying on the ground enjoying his achievements after his cultivation continuously increased, he breathed a sigh of relief and said that he had reached the 9th level of chi refining. It was wonderful. I've made a lot of money today, and it's time to run away. If anyone else knows, I'll be done for. The system heard that he intended to run away and then said that your heart felt like you had forgotten something, so it decided to remind you that maybe you need to go take a shower and clean your feet. So anyway, there is Antoine Tu Hafong, so why don't you go relax a bit to put your soul at ease? It sounded like a thunderbolt hitting his ears. His face turned pale and he sat down on the ground dejectedly, saying seriously, "Tell me to go take a shower, why don't you hurt me?" After speaking, the guy immediately stood up, his face showing his determination that if he couldn't, he would have to go back. Having said that, he can't decide what to do, or his feet are constantly moving forward despite Deep Tan screaming this and that. Why can't he control you all? Don't go. At that point, I was played to death by you guys today. After a while, the guy was forced by his disobedient feet to finally reach the hot spring. He looked back and forth at his sneaky appearance, and smugly said that it was fortunate that it was night so there was no one here. Naked, he immediately took off his clothes and happily ran down to the stream to try it out. He lay soaked in the hot water and silently exclaimed how comfortable it was. While happily enjoying himself, he suddenly heard someone's voice and wondered who was there. Looking back and forth, he finally realized that it was Tan Noyet's voice, so he looked scared and said this trip was over. He immediately hid under the mist and looked towards the other shore and discovered a girl very similar to Tan Noyet. Damn, it was actually senior sister to who was there. Tan Noyet felt like someone was peeking, so she turned her head to look. I thought she had discovered me, so I was even more scared, thinking if I said this was just a misunderstanding, would senior sister Sue believe it? She spoke up and said she didn't say it right and didn't want to die. Hearing this, he was afraid to pee in his pants, so he stood up and answered me. Without saying a word, she pointed her finger at him and shouted to kill, emitting a strong aura from her hand. Heading straight towards the guy, the flow of air was as fast as a star passing by Deep Tan's head, making him wonder what was going on. The air flow went straight towards the purple bamboo forest behind, creating an explosion that caused smoke and dust to fly out of the smoke. A masked man rose up and then coldly snorted. The masked guy who had been hiding in the bamboo forest was discovered by her, so she also spoke up and said that to Tan Noyet, "I hid so well that you also discovered it, which is quite commendable for you." When I turned around and saw the masked man, I couldn't help but wonder what the hell was going on. Is there someone else here besides me? The masked man summoned spiritual energy into his hand and then loudly said that if you had discovered him, he would quickly die. He snorted and immediately threw a palm into the lake's surface. At this moment, it turned into a layer of ice, causing Deep Tan to scream in panic. It was so cold that as soon as he took action, he froze the whole stream. Truly an expert. Tan Noyet also tested the skill of quickly running to the shore to avoid the masked man. Seeing this, she shouted loudly and tried to escape. "Don't you dare escape my hand." After he finished speaking, he mobilized his spiritual energy and waved his hands, creating two streams of air like two swords towards her. Without hesitation, she took out her sword and slashed, causing the two streams of aura to separate. The masked man suddenly appeared next to Tan Noyet. She used her sword to block a blow from the masked man and said, "Who are you?" Still looking cold as he fought, he said, "What was your purpose in breaking into my Tan Van Mon today?" The masked man still said with a smug tone that no matter what you think today, you will die at the hands of this deity. The two sides still fight extremely fiercely, but it seemed that the masked man was still toying with her. It felt like he hadn't unleashed his full strength. He fought and backed away and said that Tan Noyet was the eldest disciple of the Tan Van sect, and his best skill was to use Tan Van Kim Dharma. In addition, there is the Du-Long body technique and the Han Van step technique. If I guess correctly, your spiritual chi is the master of the woodland cultivator, right? As soon as he finished speaking, he launched a powerful blow, sending Tan Noyet flying towards him. Then made her scream. Ta Noyet looking at the masked man, his head was filled with wonder. But he didn't expect you to understand me so well. Looks like there's a spy in my sect. The masked man folded his arms proudly, and told Ta Noyet Ko to stop thinking about trying to defend him. Faced with his threat, she was not afraid at all and replied boldly that although you are powerful and know my background, if I want to leave, you cannot hold back. He looked at her with eyes full of murderous intent and laughed loudly. Ha ha ha, is that so? Immediately he took out a flute and brought it to his mouth, blowing from the flute, emitting streams of air carrying cold snowflakes spreading around. She felt something was wrong with her whole body, so she cried out. My spirit is dissipating very quickly. Seeing this, the masked man looked proud. He quickly pulled out a knife from his body and shouted, Ha ha ha, kill. Immediately, the tip of the knife rushed towards her. His flute sound from earlier caused her body's movements to decrease a lot. She turned around and dodged to the side, but could not avoid the knife. Fortunately, it only grazed her hand, injuring her. On the wound, blood flowed into drops and fell to the ground. Ta Noyet could not hold the sword in her hand and shouted angrily. The stone on his weapon was poisonous. The masked man injured her with just one move, so he looked extremely complacent and said, Let me see how you go this time. Seeing the girl being beaten, Deep Tan still hid behind the tree and remained silent, not daring to speak up. He felt scared, his head was tangled, and he wondered if I could still run now. I was just a cannon fodder in front of these two people. At this moment, suddenly there was a voice ringing in Deep Tan's ear. I know you are nearby. I am trying to hold this person back. Quickly run and call the master of the sect to come here. I was startled to realize that it was the law. Sister Tu's sound transmission technique. On this side, she hugged her bloody arm in pain and added, Otherwise you and I will both die here today. He was sweating profusely, thinking about this. Why did my sister let me run first? What should I do? He looked up and saw that the masked man also rushed to attack Ta Noyet, causing her to let go of her sword and fall backwards. Even though she was seriously injured, she still tried to prolong the time to hold him so that he would have a chance to leave. She looked at him and asked, Who are you? Why are you such a strong person and did this despicable thing? You only know how to sneak attack me in the dark. How did you sneak into my Tanvan sect? Listening to her question, he also replied, Let it go. I also want to let you die in a clear way. Listen carefully. He pulled the veil off his face and continued, I am Vang Tien Sat, a true disciple of Tien Ma sect. You probably know me, right? Ta Noyet frowned at him, and then answered in a harsh voice, It turns out that you are the only people from the Heavenly Demon sect who can do such a despicable thing to attack me before the match. She's still sitting there provoking him. If he has the courage, then fight me honestly. Vang Tien Sat approached her, and said as he walked that I was originally from the demon world, so there was no need to care about so many things. In order to deal with you, I deliberately went to Elder Tai Thuong's place to borrow the magic weapon just to kill a genius disciple like you. I'll definitely win the match 3 months later, but before killing you. He looked at Ta Noyet's sweet body and couldn't control himself. He said I have to nourish my young, otherwise wouldn't a beauty like you be a waste? Hearing that, she immediately angrily shouted at you hateful scoundrel. Even though she spoke so strongly, in her heart she was scared and worried, thinking what should she do now? Who can come and save me at this time? Could it be that today I cannot avoid this disaster? Vang Tien Sat looked at her and smiled mischievously. Little lady. Come here, I will make you feel comfortable. Hearing that, she raised 2 fingers to mobilize her spiritual energy to tell you not to fail. A powerful source of spiritual energy immediately surrounded her body. Tien Sat saw this and shouted in panic, What do you want to do? Do you want to blow yourself up with me? Are you planning on going together forever? The new power that Ta Noyet radiated surprised Vang Tien Sat, causing him to quickly step back. He asked in panic, What do you want to do? You want to commit suicide with me, end in harmony. I tell you Ta Noyet. Don't you dare. Before you could finish your sentence, Ta Noyet immediately declared bravely, Beast, even if I die, I won't give you what you want. Ta Noyet was preparing to rush to attack King Tien Sat when suddenly from afar, Deep Tan spoke up, Wait a minute. Hearing a voice from behind, Vang Tien Cha wondered, Then he turned around and saw Deep Tan standing there with an extremely confident look. I thought that Deep Tan had run away in fear before but now appeared here, Vang Tien Cha wondered, But you brat dare to come here. On the other side, Tutan Noyet was trying to buy time for Deep Tan to run, and was also extremely surprised by his presence at this time. She asked confused, "Didn't I tell you to run away? What are you still here for?" Deep Tan quickly responded without any hesitation, "Sister Su, in this situation, how can I leave you alone and run away?" Although he appeared confident on the outside, Deep Tan turned out to be extremely worried and scared on the inside. Right now he's screaming in his heart, "Damn it, I want to run away too, but my legs won't listen to me. If I want to come here, I don't know what to do." Hearing Deep Tan's bold statements just now, Tutan Noyet was extremely surprised, But in her heart, she also felt quite happy at this time. She did not expect him to appreciate his gratitude so much. Vang Tian-cha stood there listening to all of what had just happened, and seemed to have quite itchy limbs. He immediately took a stance and confidently threatened, intending to kill you and then deal with the small shrimp. "If you're already looking for death yourself, I'll do it for you." Seeing the murder radiating from the direction of King Tian-cha, Deep Tan was afraid and quickly raised his hand to make peace. Wait. Deep Tan's worried expression at this moment made Vang Tian-cha extremely proud. He loudly mocked Deep Tan, "What, I'm scared. I tell you it's late." Hearing that, Deep Tan still stood still, as calm as a rock. Suddenly he asked himself a question, "Are you ready?" Immediately, the system inside his body replied, "Your hand is already preparing to attack." That's right. Deep Tan's hand began to appear extremely powerful blue light. It didn't stop there. It continued to announce that your Dantian has already provided 100% of your spiritual energy. The source of energy in Deep Tan's body gradually became stronger than ever. It turns out that all he did up until now was to buy more time, waiting for this moment. Feeling that everything was carefully prepared, Deep Tan took a stance, thinking to himself, "If that's the case, then let's beat him." He raised his hand and used his finger to provoke Vang Tian-cha, "Come over here." Seeing that Deep Tan seemed a bit overconfident, Tutan Noyet worriedly shouted loudly to warn him, "Deep Tan, don't be rash, you are not his opponent." Deep Tan's recent words had reached the ears of King Tian-cha. He laughed out loud and full of contempt, "Ha ha, little guy, he didn't move at all, was he scared stupid?" Before he could finish his sentence, a blue light suddenly appeared in front of Vang Tian-cha's arrogant face, startling him. That beam of light immediately hit him in the face, causing him to quickly fall to the ground. Deep Tan exclaimed, receiving this slap. Turns out that was his lightning attack. Vang Tian-cha became dizzy after being hit by the attack just now. It took a while for him to be able to sit up. He turned back to look at Deep Tan and then stupidly asked, "What?" Deep Tan saw Vang Tian-cha's bruised and pale face and was extremely satisfied. He punched his hands together and smiled an extremely sinister smile. "Ha ha ha ha." Without giving that Tian-sat king any time to breathe, Deep Tan immediately rushed up and gave that